Mm. All right, works for me. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is once again Lessons with Ricardo, and today we are going to pick up where we left off last week. And yeah, so what we did last week, we were jumping into PowerShell. I'm super excited to get back into it with you. And, let's jump right into a recap. That's what we got to do, right? Actually, before I even do that, what I do want to do is, first of all, I thought to myself, you know what? Why not bring some news to the channel? Everyone here hopefully is into, working with technology and learning a little bit more about it. And hopefully, let me see, capture top moment. Yeah, okay. Sorry, getting pop-ups on the YouTube stream thing. But anyway, so learning about technology, catching up on things. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and introduce you to a blog, not a blog, but a website, forum, something like that. That I use called bleepingcomputer.com. So this is like a hottest news. They usually focus a lot on ransomware, stuff like that. So, interestingly enough, a little bit about what I like to do. So, right now, I'm actually really into learning more about Windows, obviously, because that's what we're doing the sessions about. But more than that, computer forensics, right? Learning how to detect where things have happened in the system, how they happened, who was behind it, stuff like that. So it's an interest of mine. But the next step up from that is really digging into how to do reverse engineering, basically taking a malicious piece of code and finding out all the inner workings of it. And that's probably like the top tier of the path I want to get to, right? So that being said, I found this really interesting where they were talking about how there was some leaked information about the current conflict happening between Russia and Ukraine. I know many people have already heard about it. One thing that in my current position we talk about a lot is the fallout or the overflow of malicious activity that is either hitting individuals it's not planned to hit when it comes to cyber warfare and stuff like that, or just the fact that there are those other advanced persistent threats, APTs out there that want to take advantage and are opportunistic in the fact that there's so many things happening around the conflict of Russia and Ukraine that they see it as an opportunity to go out there and launch attacks of their own just because everyone else is distracted looking left and they're coming from the right. You know what I mean? So, that being said, I found this really interesting because this is something specific about the Ukraine and Russia conflict and one of the popular malwares that are happening currently. So, what I wanted to show you is just what this is talking about. It is a Twitter handle, which, if you're not aware, a lot of things are communicated over Twitter. I remember years ago there were these bad actor groups, or not even that, it was hacktivists, I think. So basically, they were using Twitter handles to communicate information across the web in, I guess, some type of pseudo code in a way. And it was really interesting. But people have been using social media platforms to transmit information to each other for a while. Now, one thing I really enjoyed about this is two things. First, it pointed me to Twitter, which I rarely ever really use these days, but it is something that I had to get back on there and check this out. So this is one thing. First is the Twitter handle. That was dropped in here, and then also the mention of XMPP chat server. So me personally, I had never actually heard of the chat server. I always heard about the relays and stuff like that. But XMPP is a new server to me, so I started digging into that as well. What I really want to do is eventually, when we graduate beyond doing system admin work, I want to get into the whole spinning up the entire environment and making sure that we get to work with these servers from ground up and really understanding how the inner workings happen and also what their capabilities are. So That's really important to get to. Now, we're going to get there, right? Just stick with me throughout these lessons. I want to make sure you have a good foundation in how to look at not only the machine you're on, virtualization, stuff like that, but also how to look at scripting, because what you'll come to find out is a lot of what we do is going to be leveraging what's already out there. And as I told you before, I'm really big on open source, free open source software, which means there's going to be a lot of customization that needs to happen. That means you can't be afraid to get your hands dirty and it comes into coding and scripting and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that's what you end up getting out of this. So that being said, I just want to pop over to Twitter and show you what happens when I put in the at Conti Leaks. So let's see what happened. It's been a couple of days, so I don't know what's going to happen, but let's see what comes up. So at Conti Leaks, bam, replying to at Conti Leaks. There's a GitHub. Here's an English translation. Oh man, okay. And then right here, check this out. So this is a site that you can go to, and it will put you in a position to download content that's been stored, right? So it's pretty interesting. Do I recommend clicking this? No, do not click the link. Never trust anything you see on the web. What I recommend doing is using some of our techniques that we've done before, which is virtualizing a separate environment that is a contained environment so it doesn't bleed into your host system, the computer you're currently using to follow along with the lessons we do, right? So never click on a link directly in your machine. Always spin up a virtual machine, a Docker, a different type of container. Always do that when you open up anything you don't know about, right? So a sandbox, container, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So what I personally do is actually we'll do it in a moment as well. Is I'll pull up a virtual machine. We'll go to this site and take a look at what it looks like. How about that? How do y'all feel about that? Let me know. Get in the chat. Tell me, do you want to pull this up and take a look at what this site is bearing for everyone? While you're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my machine, machine, my virtual box. Bam. In fact, everybody out there, man, come on, send me some love, man. Give me some chats, all right? Let me know what's going on out there. How y'all feeling today? Oh, don't worry about these red signs. It's all right. These pop up because I have a separate hard drive that my VM sit on. All right. So now, one thing you'll probably notice if you've been with me for a while is my red box up here need fixing. Is I want to investigate this because I did some stuff on it, and I feel like what I did might have corrupted the um, the virtual machine itself. So I want to dig into what's going on the background. So I started a brand new one running Kali. If you know me, I actually normally run Parrot OS. What's going on, Megan? Love it, man. I'm loving to have you on. You my ride or die. I already know you always gonna be there, Megan. All right, pull this up real quick. Like I said, we're just doing this just to check out this link. I like to look into stuff, right? That's the whole point of doing this. Then once we do this, we're gonna dig into the lesson for today. But look at here, look at here. You already know me, tester, tester, baby. You actually have so my mentor, he always used to call me test tube, baby. I think it just stuck for some reason. So everything I do is like either test two, test two B, tester. All right. I don't know why my machine's doing that. All right, so check this out. We got this up and oh, Google. All right, so actually, there is one thing I wanted to install and I forgot to do it. Because one thing I always do as well when I do a brand new machine, always install my VPN. Okay. Now it's not actually one I develop or anything like that, but it's a VPN I use for a lot of my stuff. I paid for a lifetime membership. Um, always install it. You never want to put out there your actual VPN. I mean your actual IP address, so you can either do proxy chains or you do VPNs, whatever it may be. All right, download new GUI app. No, I want the legacy CLI. I want the GUI. So I'm gonna do deb debian. You know me, I don't do GUI. Come on. All right, so okay, whatever. Where's you at? Where are you at? So good night, son. Change law. That's great. I don't care about this though. Where's the download at? Well, I guess WinScribe already has itself in a repository somewhere. How to install Debian packages? Yeah, I know, but give me the package. All right, now I'm sad, y'all. I'm really sad about this because this is not a new tab. I really don't want to. I really don't want the GUI. I really don't want the GUI. Oh, they're gonna make me do the GUI, huh? Oh, I hate this. All right, save the file. Where can I get the actual download from this? Maybe they have the repository. So, what's this? For your browser, for your computer, TV router. Oh wow, they do it all. Yeah, I don't remember how much I paid for this. Just in case you all are wondering, who else? Who else has their own VPN service? You got a recommendation? Drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Notify you. Try this again. Oh, let me click on the link. That's what it was. Ah, come on, Ricardo. I don't want to do a beta though. Does not support network manager. I don't want to do that. So let me do a stable version. Let's do this one. All right, save it. Okay. So Megan, how's the audio going for you? Is the audio a little better on this? I know once before you said that the audio was having some type of issue. Open folder. Make sure it downloaded. Yep, right here. This is the one I want. So now we already know how to install. We're going to go to our downloads folder. And don't worry about it. If you're not familiar with the terminal interface, don't worry about it. We're going to get to it eventually. We're into the Linux administration. So now we're going to do sudo uh, dpackage install. Megan, you're killing me. I switched off Twitter for audio. Come on. Do not tell me if I raise my mic, it's better for you. Please don't tell me that. WinScribe dash CLI. All right. I got you, Megan. All right. Let's go ahead and install the WinScribe real quick. And I'm doing this just so that we can jump onto. Oh, come on. Leaving unconfigured. Why would you do this to me? Let's see if it's in the repository already. Install WinScribe. App fix broken install. Oh, it's saying it's already there. Let's see what happens. OneScribe. Login. Okay, I don't remember how to do OneScribe. So let's see if we can do help. Okay, so we got connect. Yeah, login is one. So let's see if we do sudo OneScribe login. Yeah, this is not working on this box. You know what? Bump it. let's see. What is something else I can use? Let's see here. Web browser. Do we have a Tor installed? Onion. I'm going to violate one thing I don't like violating, but I just wanted to be able to show you what happens when we do this website. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so we got the link here. I'm gonna copy it and paste it. I just saw your comment, Megan. The microphone, really? Really? Ah, Megan. All right, so check it out. This is what you end up landing on. If you go to this website, you end up landing on a page like this. Like I said, I normally like to make sure I disguise my IP address by using a VPN. But in this case, whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, so now you see for yourself, these are the kind of things you could download. There's more to it if you scroll down. You got, if I could get the scroll up here. Oh yeah, this is it. So TrickBot. So TrickBot is a known ransomware. So these are 7-zip files. You can unpack them with like WinRAR. I think even Windows machines come with a way to unpack 7-zips. I know it comes with Linux. So you can unzip these and but yeah, download if you want to. Beware, you don't know what it is, you don't know who wrote it. It is up to you to make that decision. I don't advise doing anything outside of a virtualized contained environment that is not your host machine and preferably behind an IP address that is not your home IP address. Okay? Keep that in mind. All right, so cool. So that's your news for today. You can go to this. You can go to that web page if you want to look into what was leaked when it came to ransomware that is actually designed and developed. I mean, by a group that currently has aligned itself with Russia. If it hurts your feelings to hear that, I understand. If it doesn't, I understand. It's your preference. But a researcher from Ukraine had tapped into the XMPP server chat servers and yeah, recovered this information and leaked it out. So that's kind of the story you get to from Bleeping Computers. If you go to this website, Bleeping Computer, and I'll even drop it in the chat. 'Cause my girl Megan, she always asks me about dropping links. So here you go. You got your link right there, Megan. All right. So that being said, that is done. Now, what are we doing today? We're doing PowerShell, okay, y'all? So I did finish posting. You see here it's posted on the 1st, which is 2 days ago. I'm proud of myself. I'm ahead of the curve, finally caught up. And so, yeah, you got your posting as normal. You can read through this. This is every single thing that we're going to cover today. I did it in Windows 11, not just Windows 10. So anything we cover it should work across the board. But you got your normal notes here, your screenshots, and then you got your actual real lesson we're doing, which is this link right here. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. So as a reminder, last time we started working with this PowerShell blog, and I decided we're going to write the same script that this person came up with. And just to go back a little bit more, the script is designed. First of all, it came from the fact the manager that the person had at the time actually had a task, and just like any developer that's experienced even a little bit, when they hear something, they start to think in their head like, "Hey, I've done that. I've done this before, so doing this can't be that bad." And the person describes the same thing here, and they're saying that, "Hey, popped in my when I first heard it, I was like, I know how to do it." And then when they discover is that it's more difficult than you believe it actually would have been to start with. So that's why I like this blog, and that's why I like doing this exercise. So we're going to walk through the exercise. We went through Get Member last time. I showed you what Get Member does. It gives you from a commandlet, it gives you all of the methods and properties, and I just brand those all as attributes associated to that commandlet. It gives that all to you, so you know what you can call on to retrieve, which is a property, and then you also know what you can do to it, which is a method. So a method is almost like it is, you know, how you do something, right? So a method is how you do something. Same case here in scripting and coding is a method is doing some type of action, even if it's just reading, is doing something. That's the method, right? So the get member commandlet allows you to retrieve all the different components within that commandlet itself, right? The original commandlet. So now the item the character between these two called a pipe, right? And we went over pipe last time. And while I'm doing this, I just thought about I need to shut down my red box and bring up my Windows box so we can finish our lesson. So I'm going to shut down the Kali Linux. I'm doing it inappropriately. I'm not inappropriately, I'm doing it incorrectly. You know, you should always do the actual shutdown button, not just closing the box out like I just did. But, you know, I do what I do because I'm all about breaking stuff so I can fix it because I like to learn how things work. The only way to learn how things work is to experience the bad with the good. Right? Right? Experience the bad with the good and get better at it. All right. So while my Windows box is coming up, back to what I was saying about piping. So I'm gonna give you two options, okay? All right, option. So I'm gonna ask you what piping does. So first thing, A. I want you to put this in the chat. I want you to tell me which one is right or wrong. You got A, right? Piping separates both commandlets so they run independent of each other. Or B, piping takes the output from the first command on the left of it and puts it as the input for the command on the right. Which one is it? A, it separates them completely and they run separately. That's why it's piped. There's like a little wall separating, right? Or is it B, where it's saying, hey, this is the output from the one on the left, which I should do this way, I guess. But the one on the left goes into the next one on the right of it, right? Which one is it, A or B? Come on. B. All right, Megan, I got it. B, you are absolutely correct. Piping takes the output from the left command and it makes it a part of the input for the right command. Absolutely, Megan. Perfect answer. I'm telling you, I think you've done this before, Megan. I think you've done this before. All right. So wait for my Windows box to pop up here and we'll get right back into it. And I'm really, yay, yes, yes, yes. Let me see if I can do so. Do a little emoji here. Let me see. Bam! I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna hit that with you right here. Bam! You say you're lonely here, Megan? Oh man, Megan, if it's just me and you, hey, we're here together. You know what I'm saying? We're here together. But to answer your question, I only see one other playback. And I think the playback is who's actually on the video, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, so you're not lonely. The other person's just not chatting, I don't believe, unless it's counting me. So then we were just it's just us two, right? But it's more than one. It's me and you, okay? And I gave you the dab, right? You still lonely with the dab? All right. Okay, so let's go and jump into this. So I got my Windows box up. Now, if you recall, last time, what did we install to work with PowerShell? We're not going to use PowerShell. We're not going to use PowerShell ISE. We're going to use Microsoft's Visual Studio Code. And the only reason why, like I said, a partner of mine who actually, I'm glad the dab makes the loneliness more bearable for you, Megan. So the my partner told me that Microsoft is not going to be supporting the ISC. I didn't look up. I still haven't looked up when that's going to be turned. Like the support is going to be going away. But hey, you know, it's all right. The visual code, we got this. You know, and it's always good to learn something new. All right. All right. Let's bring up our digital. Let's bring up our visual. Studio Code, get that thing launched up here. And I don't know if I actually launched it or not. Did I launch it? Now I launched it. Little spinny icon thing, right? And look, if you remember the test 43 and test 45 I made up last time. Now, if everything works the way it should work, when this loads up, it should have exactly where we left off in writing our script. Okay, exactly where we left off in writing our script is what I'm looking for. And then we'll flip back and forth to make sure that we follow along with the blog here. Okay. In fact, let me bring the blog back up. I'm gonna close mine out. Not that big a deal. So we did the get member, select an object. We found out how to do the name of the service, right? Um, so we found out how to pull that information. And what was the problem we had here? So what the problem was is running the get members and looking at what methods or what properties we can retrieve. The script, as he says up here, as the person says up here, the script is supposed to capture who is logged on or who has started that service, right? And we look at the initial returns, we have nothing talking about logging on, nothing about run as, right? So that's why they were like, hey, we got a problem, we got to fix it, okay? So how do we fix it? We continue on down. So once again, we did all this last time, and you can check out the last video to walk through this completely. But at this point now, where we are is we're looking, I believe we're looking at this part. We just figured out that, hey, we can filter out some stuff and then do select star to pull back all of the properties of that particular service and what can be retrieved. Okay, let's do this. And just to let you know, this is a different command, right? So it has a different set of properties or properties and methods, but properties what we're looking at here in this screenshot. Because remember, this one up here was just get service. Now we're working with get CIM instance, okay? And that's gonna be really important. And I hope you all are excited, man. I'm really super excited to show you today how you're going to actually learn how to start a service as yourself and not as the normal local user would do. Okay, so totally different. So let me see. Oh, what are we doing? Okay, over here. This is the one we're on now. Okay, so this is kind of where we left off. So token broker was one I was targeting at first, and then I decided to change this up. But like I said, we ran this command already, so we'll pick it up in just a moment. We also looked at how to store your credentials, right? And this is going to be used to run a process. And guess what? We don't even need all this, right? Like I said, I try to learn. I kind of learn with you all as we go through stuff. Like I said, I'm not a Windows PowerShell type of person. I've done it. I've written scripts. Like I said, I know enough to get myself out of trouble if I need it. But doing specific tasks, I'm still learning things as I go as well. But I know enough to at least show you all what not to do, right? That's the point, what not to do. And then we can figure out how to do it together. All right, so that being said, we are currently in PowerShell, and I don't know what the problem is. I want to see what this means. The variable is signed but never used. Great, I don't care. Go back to terminal. All right, cool. So everyone should be at the terminal screen on your box, ready to run some code. All right, so let's do this. We don't need this anymore because like I said, we're not even going to use this. But hey, this part right here, super good to remember how to do. Okay, this is probably really important. We'll probably use it. I'm gonna leave it on the screen. I'm not going to use it, but we'll leave it up here. And we're also going to change the service to something that is installed on everyone's machine, which is the Tap E server. Tappy Serve. That's how I say it. But this is actually the telephony service itself, but the name in the system shows it like this. So let's do this. Let's start with where at least we know we need to be. Let's run this and see what it says about the service. Okay. So first of all, like I said, display name is telephony. or telephony. Yeah, telephony. I don't know why I was doing it. So telephony is the name of the service. The state is start name. So look at this. This is who it starts as, right? This is what was in the blog we just looked at. Now, this is who it starts as right now. Now, I am choosing to focus on this one because this is one of the services I know I can start independent of any other service, so it doesn't require a whole bunch of other services to be started at the same time to work. It's also set up to manual mode, and I've tried it myself, and it does work by just me doing a quick modification. All right, so because we are doing a script that is to find when a service is run out of the norm or run by a unidentified user or a unexpected user, I'm going to change some things with this one, right? And this is kind of like kind of like we know at the end of the day what it's going to show up as, but it's still the journey of getting there is still important to have to know how the scripting part works, right? So I'm going to change this to one of my users. And in fact, I'm going to change it to the user I logged in as, which is Tester, not Tester Bob. Well, I can do Tester Bob, doesn't make me a difference. So this is what I'll do. How do we go about changing the way the service starts? Well, first things first is um, we have to learn a little bit about another command that is called invoke. So invoke is in the verb noun setup. Invoke is almost like go do, start, something like that, right? So invoke is like placing the force into it. Um, and what we're going to end up doing is first finding out how the service itself is modified. Okay, what I mean by that is, like I showed you before, and I'll bring up again, you have methods and properties. So let's go and bring up get member. Let's see what the return response is for this. All right, so check this out. We have all these properties, okay? We also have methods. Now, among these are not exactly what I'm looking for, but the point is we're looking for a method that's going to make sense for how to change an aspect of what the commandlet does. So now this tells me that I need to do a little bit more work with this. This is not going to give me what I want. So what's the next step for me? Well, I did some Googling, so I'm going to cut down on the chase for you. I'm going to go and give you some things here. So start here. First of all, you're going to learn about parentheses. Okay. So one thing about doing scripting, you have two options if you want to. Well, actually, you have like three options, right? They don't always work, but you can try it and compound them on top of each other. The first thing is if you have a command that you're working with, such as one on the screen now, which is the get CIM instance commandlet, and then this just filters out the name specifically. You can choose to either run it like this, or you can store it as a variable, and then whatever operations you want to do to that variable, you can do separately, right? So I'll show you what that looks like. Let's call it the variable is going to be dollar sign, and the way we create a variable, we did this before in the previous lesson, is we just do dollar sign and then whatever the variable is going to be called. So I'm going to call mine SRV, for short for service, right? So I'm going to store that. Now if I do dollar sign SRV, guess what? It does the exact same. It executes whatever I stored in it, right? So now that's stored as get CIM instance. Filter out the service tappy serve, as I said, I pronounce it, and it brings back any information. It brings back the information about that service. All right. So now, what I can also do is I can throw. All right, Megan. I see you got that. Okay, I appreciate throwing that out there. So that's the query just to return. You're getting an error with that. Okay. So make sure, I see what you have in here, and that looks right from what I'm looking at. Let me put it on the screen. So this is what you just put out here, right? So just paste on the screen so everyone can see it. So this is what you're running, okay? Which looks the exact same, except for, look here, you have a dash instead of equal sign. Change that around. Good job using the chat. I love it. So change that to equal sign and it should work for you. Let me know. All right, while you're doing that, I am going to show. All right, so commandlets also have, you can throw additional class objects to work with each other when it comes to commandlets itself. What does PHHH mean? Please, I don't know what that means. Anyway, Megan. All right, so what I could do is actually throw another class on here, right? So if I type this out, CIM class, yes, that's actually the name of it. CIM class is a class that can be placed onto a CIM instance object, right? You mistyped this O. Got you. Okay, I hope that works now. All right, let's see what this does, right? So if I do this, it now tells me I have a couple of things here. I have class methods that I can work with, and then we have properties on those methods, okay? So when we do this, let's go a little bit further, and now let's go into the class methods, CIM class methods that are available. See what that tells me. Well, looky there. So now what we're looking at is the fact that serve represents the CIM instance, right? That's a commandlet. It's an object, right? It's the object that we're focused on when we use CIM instance is the service, right? But it's saying whatever I pass in, whether it's a service or something else, or maybe like the operating system, when it's handled by CIM instance, that you have classes and a class method that you can place against whatever's in there, whatever object you're focused on, right? Now looky here. You have create, you have change. Now isn't that nice? So now I know that I can use the change method with an object I'm targeting using the commandlet of CIM instance. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to change who is the start name. And one thing you'll learn when you're doing services, services require like credentials, kind of like we created above here with this cred part here. Now, the only problem is that when you're doing a change using this method, you actually have to type it all out. You can't just plug in cred, not using um, PowerShell 5.1, right? 5.6, it shows you can actually do the cred credential stuffing when you execute originally, okay? So that being said, let's go and get into doing the actual change to the servers. And we'll see if it works or not, right? Of course, it's going to work, right? Right? Like, what can go wrong? So, um, one other thing I do like to, and I think now, I know I told you this. There's a couple ways of doing this. You actually don't have to do the serve. And I want to try one thing before I go any further, though, because I believe that there are actually parameters that go with that method. If I type parameters correctly. Yes. Okay. Check this out. So this might be important to go a little further with, right? So now, why did I put parentheses around this, right? Parentheses is almost like making a box, like a encapsulate. It's saying, hey, run everything here inside of this parentheses, and I'm gonna tack on a different, I don't want to say method itself, but a call to a property of what it has. Like it calls one of its properties by doing the period dot notation. So dot parameters. So I call the parameters property of whatever ran inside the parentheses. And look what I end up. So I end up with a name, a path name, start mode, start name, right? Now the thing about it is this seems like it's repetitive, right? I don't think this is all the same thing. I believe like I could do a little bit more work with this. And let's see here. Ch- what was it? What was it? Change, right? Change was change was a method that could be placed against this. So if I do where, so now we're gonna do something like a query. And query is basically like, I don't know, making a request, right? Query is like to request to ask a question. So I'm saying, hey, I have a question for you. Where give return the parameters, but only return the parameters where the object is equal to name change. Okay. And remember, the change was in the name column before. So let's go ahead and just to scroll up to prove that. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, right here. See, name change. Okay. You see all these parameters? We just did parameters down here, right? So now what it's telling me is that I want to pull just the parameters for change. So how do we do that? We do a where object. We say query. Remember, pipe means whatever runs here, you pass to the second commandlet or command after, okay? So now I'm gonna say change object, where object, and this uses the curly brackets, okay? So we're gonna do where name equals, and of course we're gonna do single or double quotes, doesn't make a difference, and we're gonna do change, and let's see if this works. And I don't think equals is the right thing. I think it's the EQ. That was not right. That was not right. See, I broke it. It's okay. I'm gonna hit up because we are doing equate. We're equating that, right? It is supposed to be this way, and that still broke. So what am I doing wrong here? Let's see. Where object? Do I need to do the curly brace? What happens if I just do this? Okay. Let's try. Because I feel like there's something I'm missing, and I can't remember. Might have to go to the internet for this one. All right, so let's go to the internet. Let's see if we can, because this is fine, that works. The where object is where I'm running into an issue. So let's take a look at what we could do with that, right? So where object, and in fact, let me pull up on my this one right here. So let's do PowerShell where objects. Look, Google, Bing, whatever you want to use is your friend. So let's find out how to do where object. All right, I'm gonna scroll down here. This is a part of the Microsoft, and of course I could change it to my version, which is 5.1. Okay, it says Microsoft documentation. It gives examples, right? So look at that. Oh, that's what I'm missing. Look at that. I forgot all about it. So I think I definitely know I mentioned this in the blog, right? The dollar underscore, right? And then a dot notation. This is what I'm missing here when it comes to where. So let's try it out. The dollar and then the dollar sign underscore represents the object we're working with, which in this case is, let me clear the screen because that's really junky and I don't like it. So we're going to do CLS, which really doesn't clear the screen at all. It just moves stuff up. But anyway, so go back up to here. And just, I think I forgot just that fast. We do it in curly brace, right? Yep, curly braces. Okay. Now, curly brace with an at sign in front, we're going to talk about as well because we're going to use it in just a moment. It is different, so don't get it confused. This is just curly brace or curly bracket. Okay. But anyway, so the dollar sign underscore is talking about the object of interest that's being passed over, which is not the parameters, but the actual method itself, right? Remember, parameters is just a property we're trying to retrieve from this object of the CIM class methods. So what this is saying is that take this object and then pull the property name where it's equal to change, okay? Let's see how that works. And it still gave me an error. So let's figure out what I did incorrectly here, though. It's saying, oh, the equal. I forgot to change the equal. Come on, Ricardo, get better with this, man. You don't use the equal sign. You use the dash EQ. There we go. And it's saying it didn't pull back anything. Well, at least I didn't get error, right? So let's figure out, go back over here because I'm supposed to use stopped is an example of it. Match process name. Yep. And in fact, you know what? Even better. I wrote this in the blog for us. And I always go over here too. Because for some reason, I'm getting an error and I want to know the reason why. Um, yep, get parameters change. Um, no, I definitely wrote that the same way. Oh, you know what? I did the parameters on the outside. That's what it was. That is what it is. We got to throw the parameters on the outside of it. Okay, so let's do this. Take this away. Now we run it. There we go. So now we filter out just, that's what it was. I was forgetting. We have to filter out just the change. Okay, so just the change, right? And now we can ask for parameters for that. So what I could do is two things. I could either enclose everything in parameters, I mean in parentheses, and then at the very end, tack on parameters again. And this time, I will get what I'm looking for. So we did all this to find this. These are parameters we're going to change when trying to change the name of the service we're launching. Okay, so there we go. We got that. Okay, so parameters. Now the other thing I could have done is I could have done this. I could have said, hey, let me let me change the variable value to equal this, right? Without the parameter. Oh, well, actually, let's do this. Serve. Let's do serve two. No, we're saying that. Oh, I took off the beginning. I forgot to take that back out, so I can do this. Add the closing parentheses. Okay, now I could do serve dot parameter, and this should now work. There we go. So this was the other method instead of enclosing everything in parentheses like I did before. So let me go and clear this out. So now give me just the parameters. And like I said, if I at any point I want to leave everything just completely typed out as a one-liner, I can always just start from the very beginning where I did this, and then I can enclose it without the get member, because we don't need a get member part. We just want the instance, and then do a CIM class here, then do the CIM method, I think. Class method, that's what it is. Class methods. Close this in the parentheses, and then pipe it into where object. And then, of course, you know you got to do the $ underscore dot name, because that's what I'm trying to return. And where it equals um, change, right? And what else? What do we need to remember about Windows? Is not case sensitive. You can type all this out in all caps if you want to. It'll work the exact same way. Now, I still need to put the parameters on the end of it. So I'm going to add another parentheses, and you'll see this gives us the exact same thing as everything else. So you got two options. You can do the serve, excuse me, sign this as you know, gets me. Um, so you can do the services, the variable that stored all this in different stages, and just tap parameters on the very end of it, or you can type it all out as a one-liner. Okay. So remember, parentheses are like in closing. Say, hey, run this, and then you can tack on to the end of it with dot notations, and you can continue to add more parentheses as you go, right? And each stage will happen on its own, right? And it's not passing the output anywhere until you hit a pipe. Then a pipe says process and then pass and process again. So that's the difference here, right? So at the end of the day, we just want to have the start name and the start password for that service. So we did a lot of stuff. I know it's a lot to take in, but this is what needs to be done so we can actually run the service. All right, so now we got everything we need. We know that there is a parameter called start name and start password. Now what we're going to do is use it. So I can do, we'll start from scratch. We'll do get clear. Okay. We're going to do get CIM instance. And then, of course, we got to tell it that we're going to do win32 underscore service. We got to filter that out. And I always misspell filter. If you do it, don't worry about it. I do it all the time. Where name equals tappy serve, and then single quotes, double quotes, and just make sure it works. Yep, it did just fine. Now we're gonna pipe this into a new command we haven't done before. I told you before, invoke is like giving an order. We're gonna give this an order. We're gonna say, hey, invoke not as workflow, but we're going to invoke as CIM method, right? And we now know the method is called change, and change is going to allow us to change a number of those parameters we saw before, but we're only interested in two of them. The parameters we want to change are start name and start password for that service. Start name, start password. We can also change the mode. We can change the service type, path name. We can change all these different elements, which is really interesting to keep in mind. Okay. So anyway, so we do invoke, and like the name of what we're going to change is change. We need to do that in parentheses, I believe. We can double check in a moment. And then this is the key here. Arguments. So the arguments that we're going to pass in. Now, this is what I was telling you before is a little different. You're going to see an at sign and a curly brace or curly bracket. Now, what this is called in the PowerShell world is what I'm about to write is called a hashable, and in languages like Python is like a dictionary, right? But the whole point of it is that you're going to give specific um, parameters, attributes, and then set that value for that specific parameter attribute, okay? So that's the point of a hashable. You're going to tell it which parameter, the value for the parameter, and go on down the list, okay? They're all separated by semicolons. So we can do one, we can do two, we can do three, four, five parameters. How many are there? We tell it exactly which one to use. So this one is start name, and we're going to say start name is equal to, um, I don't know, let's do tester just to get out of the way. And one thing about it, when you're working with names on Windows, you have to give a dot forward slash or a domain name forward slash the name, like you see up here, right? You have either the entire computer name or domain, if it's a domain, but since we're not on an entire domain network, we're just a local machine, we use a local machine instead. But the period down here represents any of that. right? It just says whatever's available that that name is a part of, whether it be a local machine, a domain itself. Just say, hey, that the user's here. And actually, it's only for a local machine if I remember correctly. Um, by the way, we're going to test out as we go, right? So then start password. Now this one, don't copy my password, please. I don't want anybody to know this, but I do use a very weak password for this environment. All right, so mine is password one. All right, so we have here is we're going to find the service named TappyServe, which is the telephony service. Then we're going to pass it into the invoke method commandlet with the uh, method of change as the target and giving that method the arguments of start name, yeah, start name as tester and start password as password one. That's it. All right, we're gonna run it and we got a return two. What does that tell me? Well, that tells me that we are not authorized to do this activity. So what can we do to fix it? Well, we can launch visual. Oh, close the wrong thing. Sorry, y'all. Forget. I always get that confused. We could try to launch this as administrator, or we can launch PowerShell administrator or ISE as administrator. Doesn't make a difference. But we're gonna stick with what we're doing now, and I'm gonna open this back up. I'm gonna copy this over, and we are logged in as tester, so we shouldn't have any problems. Yep, tester is off as an admin. So now we're gonna come over here. All right, and we're gonna do new file. Select the language like we did before. We're gonna select PowerShell. Bam. All right, we got our terminal. Wait for it to load up. As an admin, come on. All right, cool. And I don't want to copy PowerShell. It copied the entire line. That's interesting. Okay, so now let's try it. And it still gave me a 2. So what's going on with this? Why is it giving me a 2? Let me see. And the value code, what you're looking for is a 0. So let me do it this way. Let's see if maybe this does require PowerShell. And as of right now, I don't want to look for the alternative to it, but let's run PowerShell as admin. And I'm feeling like maybe tester is not, well, I'm running administrator, so it should be fine. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to take it over here. And the next time we'll have to figure out how to get the Visual Studio to run as PowerShell, run as admin. Let's see. It should be executing. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay. So yeah. So end up being run in PowerShell as administrator did work. So I got to figure out how to get this to work properly with Visual Studio as administrator because obviously opening it as admin didn't make a difference in how PowerShell ran inside of it. So that is something to look into. All right, so let's check to make sure everything worked the way it should. I'm gonna pull this back up. Okay. Now remember, we're gonna look for get member. No, select all. We're gonna select everything here. And what we're looking for is to have tester. And there we go. It no longer has NT. So now we know when we start this service, it's going to start as tester running it. So right now it's currently stopped. So let's go ahead and start the service. So how do we start the service? Well, pop over here on the internet. I already got it pulled up. So it should be as simple as another invoke command and then the name itself. Should start it right up. So let's try to do that. And when you know it, it probably needs the admin rights to do it. So let's try it up here first. do up, and then try it without the parentheses. All right, see what happens. All right, so it's saying that did not work. Let's try with the quotes. Oh, start service is actually what it's doing. And return 15. That is interesting. Okay, let's try to check this out one time. See if this worked. So invoke. Okay. Um, let's go back over to Windows and do PowerShell return value 15. See what it says. The service does not have the correct authentication to run on the system. Mm. So it's saying that the password is incorrect, maybe? Doesn't have the correct authentication to run on the system. All right, well, let's try this out. This is kind of a cheat. I want to test it out first. So I'm going to services, because I don't think that should be the case. So we're going to do services. We're going to find the one we're working with, which should already show tester right here. Start. Log on failure. Maybe I did do the wrong password. What is um, admin tools? So what I'm doing now is I'm going to check to make sure my password is set properly. I'm going to go to computer management and then go to local users. Let's open up tester. And yep, saying I don't have a password. Wow, that might be the problem. All right, I'm going to set the password. Password one has been set. Now let's flip back over to our PowerShell and try to run this one more time. And it still says wrong. Let's try to do it manually. So log on. We're gonna go back and fix this through PowerShell. I just want to make sure it works. Oh, you know what? I guess it won't run, but that's fine. That's not a problem because our script doesn't even care about it running. But it does need to be able to find this because that's what our script is doing. So let's go back and take a look at the rest of the script we're writing. But that's cool. That's all right. This is the part that we had to get set up so we can find a service that we were not expecting if we hadn't set it up ourselves. All right, cool. So let's pop back over to the script and we're almost ready to rock and roll. We jump down here. We've done this part. All right, so now it says building a query to get the CIM instance. So look at this. We're saying, hey, filter out all services that do not have local system in the name and that the name is not like NT authority, which we already know the Tappy Serve service does that. So let's go ahead and build this out as well. And this should be pretty simple. We're going to jump over to our Windows box. We're going to try to type it from memory. Let's see how that works out. In fact, no, we're not, because I don't want us to do that either. So let's just take this, but we will paste it up here. We're not going to use it. We're just going to paste it. We're going to save it. Okay. So we got get without the space, get CIM instance. We're going to tab and then came up with the wrong one. So put an I, tab again. That's what we want. Class. Now, as you already know, we don't have to put class, but it doesn't hurt to be proper with it, right? Pinky out, be proper. Then filter, we do need to put the filter so it knows it's a filter. And then of course name equal to, um, oh, I'm typing the wrong one. This is the filter of start name, right? So start name, and I'm gonna get rid of Megan's thing here because it's not what we need. So start name, like I said, not equal to, which really confuses me because I thought that you had to use the dash e's or eg or something like that. EQ, I mean, for equals. Okay, so we got local system, so we don't want that. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna stop right here. I want to see what it does, right? And then we're gonna select. Got to see what it does before we finish everything out. All right, invalid query. Oh, I misspelled start name. Bam. Look at that. We get a lot of them. I don't need to run through the whole list. As you can see, it's returning all the ones with NT authority, which we know are a lot, right? NT authority. But one thing we do not see is the local system. So I think it's working so far. None of these say local system, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish out the rest of the filter to make sure it doesn't return. So, and then we're going to do and not. That's how you do, well, that's how you do the not in front of the statement to say not do this, right? So, and where the start name does not look anything like, right? So we're doing um, like is a regular expression. So basically that means is it's not an exact character, word, string, whatever it is. It's saying look for what I tell you, and then at the point I enter the wildcard, fill in the rest of it, right? So what I'm going to tell it is I know for sure I don't want it to be like NT space a Thor, and I can stop here actually, right? I don't go any far if I want to, further if I want to, and I'll show you that. I'm going to do a percent sign, end it, and now we're going to run the same thing. There we go. So I didn't have to type out everything that's already up here. Like I said, I just want to show you all, this is nothing more than saying type in what I know exists and where it starts from, right? Because if I didn't know where it started, I could just put like a dollar sign there as a wildcard as well. I'm not gonna show you that. So if I do percent, it'll bring out the same thing, right? But if I if I do this, and let's say something started with an A or started with a C or whatever other letter or character you want to pick out, it will return multiple entries, right? Not just this. Um, so anyway, so we'll leave it like that so you see what it does. So look, this worked. We now have a working script that will pull back a service running as anyone other than local system and also any user that looks or any account that looks like NT authority. Okay, so now we only have one, and that's the one we just created. So now we're getting something out of the script, right? But it's so much more that he wanted to do, but this works here. Um, Now, what can we go? How can we go further? So now what he's suggesting is that we actually tell it which columns to bring back because we don't need all, well, not columns, but which properties to bring back. We don't need all of them, right? If you were writing for someone else, would they really need to know creation class name? They probably won't even know what that means, right? So we don't need that. We don't need the path may be interesting, right? But error control, who needs that, right? So we don't really need it. So that's basically what they're saying to use here is we actually give it the columns that we want it to come back as. And it's just the system name. So select object, system name, common name, caption, stuff like that. So we'll just take this, and we already have it up here. So we'll take this and paste that right here. Okay, let's see what happens. Bam. Okay, now it's a little easier to read, a lot less information, and only the important parts. We now know who it is, what mode it runs on, the actual name of the service that's in the system, I'm sorry, what is displayed as, and then the name that we know it as, and then what computer it's on. Okay. Of course, this will run across the network with multiple computers. You don't need to worry about that. And in fact, I'm gonna start up my Windows 11 so we can see it work on more than one machine. And I'm hoping that it works the first time. Start name. Okay. We just did a sort. Okay, and we're sorting on the start name part. That means if we had multiple people or multiple services running as uh, different type of users, it will show up here. And in fact, what we can do is we can pick, what was it? Token broker was the one I wanted to do earlier. And in fact, I have to do it over here. So let's just do this. Token broker, password 2, should work for tester Bob if the password's still in there. And we're going to do token broker. And I think that is correct. All right, set 0. So we're going to take a look at it. In fact, nope, we're not going to do that. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to run our script over here. There you go. So now we have a second one. See what happens? I just changed the name and the start password for another service to kick off as Tester Bob if it were going to start. But we just found out, and in fact, this one's actually running. So that's kind of interesting. I didn't even pay attention to that. So this one is stopped, is not going to run. This one's currently running as Touch the Bob, so pretty interesting, right? Now I'm scared of what's going to happen to my system, but it is there, right? Hey, if it breaks, we'll know why. So now we have two returns, and that's what the sort does. Now, what's going to make this more interesting is if we can do a Windows 11 box, right? Because they're on the same network. They're both sharing the Breaker 2 network, and we're going to start Windows 11. Now, let's see if Windows 11 will allow me to run a search against it. All right, so do you have any questions? Hey, Megan, I know you're here. If you got anything, let me know. If you ran into any issues, hopefully it works really easily for you. Um, so this one just teaches how to do against multiple computers, and that's what the invoke command is. Okay, so I do want to try this. This is like pretty cool, I think. So I want to actually give this a shot real quick. So I am going, now we know what all these things do. We know what the curly brace does. We know what the double quotations are used for. We know what the pipe is used for. We know what the not like and this stuff, the regular expression part is. I think we're in a good position to just throw this all into one place. So let me go ahead and throw this on the Windows 10 box. And we'll put it up here where the rest of our code is sitting that we're just playing around with up here. And then what I'm going to do is sign in to tester over here. And just so you're not confused, it does not have to be the same name, same user. That's just how I set my boxes up, is that they're all pretty much called tester. All right. So of course, me, before I jump out there and add a second computer, I'm going to take this piece of code we just copy and pasted. And what you'll notice is the script, this is a new thing here, which is script block. But all it is taking what we just wrote and placing it in a script block. And it's saying, hey, when you invoke against these machines, invoke this code. That's all it's telling us. That's how you do remote scripting. Did not mean to do that. Okay. So down here, clear this out. And I am going to do all of this. And I know that I have a computer name now, which is host name, right? So what I'm going to do is just do this here, and it should do my local host. Let's see what happens. Maybe it didn't like what I just did. So, ah, I hate when it does that. Okay, clear this back out. I'm going to do it all in one line because I don't know about these tabs and these spaces, but it's confusing me. So let's go ahead and do this. Copy and paste this properly. Bam. Okay. And we're going to say select this. Paste that in. All right, so it shows us working. Let's see what ends up happening. Because this is a local machine. It should work just fine on a local machine. And I don't know why it wouldn't, but this is the reason why we're doing the test with one machine first. And it might just have an issue with doing. What are you thinking? Oh, you know what? I have a feeling invoke command is not going to run here because it probably requires admin access too. So let's clear this screen. No, clear. Thank you. And let's paste it over here and see what happens as well. Wow, I don't know about you all, but this definitely worries me when it does it this long. All right, let's pull up the Windows 11 while we're waiting for that to run. And then pull up our PowerShell. I'm going to do just, well, I'll do PowerShell ISC, run as administrator. Because I don't think I installed Visual Studio on this box. Oh, look at this. Failed the following error. The client cannot connect to destination specified. Verify the service on the destination is running. Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Well, that is interesting. It's definitely the same machine. State broken. Hmm. I wonder if I need to change the setting. Let's try this. Get execution. And I don't know if this is going to work. Execution policy. No, it's remote signed. So that means it should work. Um, All right, let's not worry about banging our head against the wall. Let's look it up, right? Okay, invoke. What was the error we just had? Let's just do all of it. Oh, let's do this part. It might be something like really funky that needs to be changed. Localhost. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's it. Let's find out. Okay, install the latest remote management update. Run the following commands to restore the listener configuration. And then run the following command to perform a default configuration. Okay. Yep, that might be the problem. Okay, let's do this. Run the following command. So let's take a look at what happens if I do this, okay? Um, let's see if I do it here. I don't know if it's even gonna work here. I don't think that's it. So let's do run, verify the service. Yep, that's not working. Okay. Well, it seems like there's more we need to explore when it comes to using remote commands. But hey, for the most part, we tackled the job we came here for, which is running a script that will locate any service that is not running as the expected user. There we go. So hey, so we got what we came here for. This works. This is what we came to tackle, and it worked out just fine. So next time around, what I do want to do is look at how to do it for remote service, remote systems, and to see if it works. There is also some exploring I want to do when it comes to policies, and based on what I just read, it's going to fall in line with what we're trying to do, which is setting up security policies for your system and a Windows environment. So that's what's going to come up next for us as system admins. So just as a quick recap, we learned about what a service is. We learned about processes. We've learned about the registry and how to edit the registry. We've also learned about the now PowerShell and the different components of how to build out PowerShell as we go. And I'm hoping this is helping in the different aspects of it. And I think it's touched on a lot of what you have to go through. But be honest with you, just like it's I say it in my blog, you're not going to get good at doing any language, PowerShell, Python, shell scripting, any of that, unless you do it for yourself and you make little small projects. So I hope you continue to tune in with us, or we work on these small projects together, and it helps you get a little more experience and maybe get a little more creative in what you want to do on your machine at home as well, and get yourself ready to join the workforce as an actual admin if you're not already there. Okay. All right. Well, I do appreciate everyone. I hope you all had a great evening. You know me, I'm often doing daddy duties, and at the end of the day, it's all about trusting the techno proof, right? And that's what we did. We proved that this does work. And let me know if you have any other comments. Okay. Thanks. Have a great night and enjoy yourself. Bye.